Good afternoon, everyone. This is Kim Palmer from Miles, and we're going to get started in just a minute here. Give a few more people time to arrive. Good afternoon, everybody. I want to get started here. I wanted to welcome you to our webinar on maximizing your exposure of your business in Google's products. This webinar is brought to you by the Bermuda Tourism Authority, and we at Miles Partnership are working with Bermuda to help expand the destination's exposure in Google products. And one of the most important components of that is your individual local businesses. My name is Kim Palmer. I am the Director of SEO and Insights here at Miles, and I have been working closely with Victoria and Jamari from the Bermuda Tourism team on this Google program. And presenting today will be C.A. Clark, our Vice President of Digital Marketing, who will take you through the various aspects of how you can influence your business in Google. So the topics we'll be covering today are an overview of the program that the Bermuda Tourism Authority is participating in, and then talking more about Google's Knowledge Panel, which is basically your business card on Google and throughout Google's products. We'll explain to you where your business information appears within the various Google products that are out there, including what those products are, and then let you know how you can access, control, and improve your business's exposure in those products. Throughout the presentation, keep your eye out for the yellow sticky notes. These will be the tips and tricks that we will recommend throughout the presentation. This webinar is being recorded and will be shared with all the registrants at the end of the session. And we also look forward to seeing you all in person next week at the Bermuda Tourism Summit, where we will also be having a more in-depth tactical session on managing your Google My Business profile. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to CA.
Great, thanks, Kim. All right, first we're going to do a very quick overview here of the program that the Bermuda Tourism Authority and Miles are participating in with Google, just so we understand sort of how we got here and what we're doing here. And then we will pretty quickly move on to looking at the Knowledge Panel and some of the other elements that were on the agenda there. So first of all, the Bermuda Tourism Authority is participating in a program with Google and Miles, the goal of which is to improve how Bermuda appears within all of these different Google products. And we'll talk very specifically about what some of those products are later on in the presentation. Part of that, one of the components of that program is an audit of all the travel-related business listings that are in Google products and an evaluation of the accuracy and the completeness and the quality of the information on those business listings. So specifically for Bermuda, 77% of the businesses that we audited are missing some kind of information. And that can be something very trivial, or it can be something very important, like a website or a phone number or an address or things like that. So there is quite a bit of opportunity here as we go through this to improve the overall experience that someone would have researching a trip to Bermuda, just through the improvement of your own business listings and making sure that that information is both up to date and complete, and also high quality. So we'll be talking about all of those elements. This is what that breakdown looks like. So 77% of the businesses that we audited in Bermuda are missing some type of information, and so a quarter of those are restaurants, 15% of those are hotels, and then there are points of interest, which are other, types of categories, top sites, things like that, and then geographic features, which would be like a beach or a park. So that gives you a little bit of an idea of kind of where the breakdown of where that missing information falls. One of the other important metrics that we found as part of this program is that 63% of Bermuda businesses aren't verified. And we'll talk a little bit more about the verification and what that means inside the Google ecosystem and what that allows you to do. It's certainly a very important component for each of you to consider. And the good news is that, as Kim mentioned in the industry workshop next week, we will actually be there, and we will be able to help facilitate the verification of your businesses. So that will be a very important benefit of attending that workshop next week. There are plenty of opportunities to improve the quality of the information that is available. These are just a few of we have kind of a log of different photos that we found in doing different audits for different destinations. And there's lots of sort of curious stuff in there. Here's just a couple of different examples of some of the photos that we have found that are posted to actual local businesses, to various types of local businesses in the Google ecosystem. And that's part of what we're doing, is trying to identify what those opportunities are so that we can clean those up and we can remove those types of images from the ecosystem so that they don't show up for your business, and then obviously they don't also show up when someone does a search for Bermuda. So there's plenty of opportunity to go through and find these types of things, and to improve the quality of the content that we have about local businesses and about Bermuda. Another component of the program is a detailed work plan that is designed to improve the quality and the accuracy of the information, and that includes photos and 360s and videos and all types of other information about your business and about points of interest and geographic features that are in Bermuda. And that's part of what the BTA will be doing here over the next many months, and this is really a long-term program that we're just sort of beginning here, where the Bermuda Tourism Authority and Miles to some extent will be involved in improving all of these different aspects of Bermuda's exposure inside these products. Then we also have the industry outreach and education as another component of the overall program, and that's what we're doing, partly what we're doing today with this webinar, and then also the in-person workshop next week. And as Kim mentioned at the beginning, the way that your business appears inside these products is really the most important part of what Bermuda looks like when a potential visitor is planning a trip. And as you, I'm sure, are well aware, the volume of traffic that we're talking about here is really enormous. So Google estimates that they have 63,000 searches every second. So that's 3.8 million searches per minute. And by the time that we get to the end of this webinar, that number will be 200 million searches just in this roughly hour time. So really, no matter how you slice it, this is one of the most important, if not the most important, source of top funnel searches about a destination. I'm looking for somewhere to go. How does someone go about deciding how to do that? And in most cases, that's going to be starting with a Google search and then doing many, many Google searches after that, in which your business will feature in a bunch of different places. And that's really what we're going to go into next, is what those different places are. What we want to do, and what the Bermuda Tourism Authority wants to do, is to help you maximize your exposure in those products, because it's really good for everyone here. It's good for you, it's good for the consumer, it's good for the market, And frankly, it's even good for Google in this case as well. So let's talk about the knowledge panel. And as Ken referenced in the beginning of this, the knowledge panel is what Google calls your business card on the web. And I'm sure you've all seen the knowledge panel. This is what shows up in that right-hand column on a desktop search, or will show up on a mobile search when you do a search for a specific business, the name of a business. Lots of other places that it shows up, but if you want to see what your knowledge panel looks like, you can go to Google and type in the name of your business, and you'll be able to see all of the information that shows up there. There's a bunch of different opportunities to expand what your real estate is and what appears in your knowledge panel, and that's one of the things that we'll be doing in the workshop next week, is really breaking down sort of the anatomy of that that knowledge panel and talking about each of the individual components. There's a couple of them here that show up, and we'll touch on a few of them today in the webinar, but there are many more opportunities there to increase your exposure and increase your real estate just in that knowledge panel alone. That knowledge panel, the information that is there, is at the heart of almost all of Google's products, because this is the information that gets surfaced in all kinds of different places about local businesses. So let's first start talking about where this information appears, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about how you access that information, and go over some of the kind of the best practices for how you would interact with that to maximize your exposure. I'll go through these fairly quickly. I just want to give you an idea that when we're talking about this ecosystem or these products, we are not talking about just search, and we are not talking about just that knowledge panel. There are dozens of different places that your business information can be surfaced inside this ecosystem, and that is growing every day. So here are a few examples. This is what's called a carousel. The carousel is shown for museum and parks and events right now. It has been used in the past for other types of businesses. Most of those businesses have now been moved to what's called the 3-pack. And the local 3-pack is this next image here. I'm sure you've seen this. So depending on what you're searching for, you will get a 3-pack for all types of businesses. So this one is restaurants in Chicago. It is also used for other types of businesses, plumbers and art galleries and all kinds of stuff. So most of the carousels have been replaced with the 3-pack. And the thing that is really important to you to know about that is that the carousel, as you might remember from the earlier screen, has many more spots in it than the 3-pack does. The 3-pack really only has those 3 spots, and so it behooves you to make sure that you have maximized and optimized your information to try to give yourself the best shot of appearing in that 3-pack, because the exposure is quite enormous when you make it into that 3-pack. Just a couple of tips. So you'll see these yellow things that show up in the deck as we go through this. So locations with a high customer rating and a lot of reviews tend to show up higher in the local 3-pack. There's certainly no guarantee about how you get into that, but one of the signals that we have seen for inclusion in 3-pack is the reviews and ratings. And when we see a business that has a rating that drops suddenly, that is often a really good signal that that's going to fall out of the 3-pack as well and be replaced by someone else. So definitely important that you pay attention to reviews. We will circle back to that when we talk about the actual Google My Business listing and how you can see and respond to those reviews. Next up, then, we have top sites, and top sites shows up for a whole bunch of different searches that are in the vein of things to do, what to do, points of interest. This is relatively new. This really started happening in late summer, where we started to see these top sites blocks. Obviously very relevant for tourism searches. And this is limited to categories like parks and museums and attractions and public spaces, geographic features like beaches, landmarks, things like that. So top sites will not include hotels or restaurants. Obviously, there are other searches that will surface those things, but still very important to tourism. And you will start to see this, if you haven't already, you will start to see this in a bunch of different places throughout Google's ecosystem. Top sites goes through, and we will come back to this one here in a second, goes through to this, which is inside the travel guide for whatever the destination is. So this is Bermuda's travel guide. And this is where that top sites list comes from and is mapped out inside their product. Here again, locations that have more complete information tend to rank better in this product. In other words, they will be preferenced to be included in this relatively short list of top sites if they have complete information and quality information in terms of photos and address and name, phone number, and all of those other components. Again, no guarantee there, but you definitely want to give yourself the best shot of appearing in top sites because it is increasingly surfaced inside the SERP and inside other products. Now, the travel guide, how do you get to the travel guide? So if you go into a Google search and you type in Bermuda or the name of any other destination, you will see the knowledge panel for Bermuda there. And then inside that knowledge panel is a little block called the Bermuda Travel Guide. And we've seen a couple of different experiments that Google seemed to be running there about what it looks like and what that call to action looks like. But for now, that's one of the primary ways that you can get to the travel guide is through that sidebar knowledge panel. This is what the travel guide looks like from a very high level, this being Bermuda, obviously, and then we show the top sites there. And then on the right-hand side of the page, you can see what the bottom part of that page looks like. There are other sub-guides that are connected to it. So Hamilton, as an example, or St. George's there have their own sort of separate guide that is underneath Bermuda. So all of these are places where your business, depending on the type of business that you have and the category that it falls into, can be surfaced. For hotels specifically, and this is actually linked from inside the travel guide, there's the hotel finder. Google has a couple of different pay-to-play opportunities inside Hotel Finder, but the appearance or the listing of it is organic inside this product. And so here again, very important to have complete information and to watch the reviews and the number of reviews that are in here, because those are all important signals for how things get ranked inside Hotel Finder. This is the Trips app is up next here. And the Trips app is a little bit lower funnel product that Google uses. So if we think about the travel guides as being a very high funnel product where someone says, I don't know where I want to go, but I want to go somewhere, the travel guide is a way to answer that. So you can make a decision about whether or not to go to Bermuda by looking at the information that they have collected about Bermuda. The Trips app is a little bit lower funnel where you say, I have already decided to go to Bermuda and I want to explore the types of things that I can do while I'm there and start to map those out. And so this is, for those of you that are restaurants and attractions, this is also a really important part of the ecosystem for you, because this is how people start to make decisions about where they're going to go once they're either in the market or when they have planned to go to a market and they're just coming up on their trip. Again, just as a reminder, all of these tools, the Trips app as well, use the same information from your knowledge panel, and it just gets surfaced and reformatted in all of these different places. So you don't have to go to multiple places to manage that information, but it does show up in a variety of different places. Now, one of the other reasons that this ecosystem is so important to us and to you is voice assistants. And so as I'm sure it's unavoidable, so I'm sure you've seen ads for it all over the place, whether we're talking about Alexa or Siri or whatever. Everyone is chasing this idea of a voice assistant, and a lot of the travel companies are doing it as well, hotels.com and Expedia and all of these other people, Lola, they're all trying to build a voice assistant where you can plan a trip, where you can say, I want to go to Bermuda and I want to be there for 7 days and I want to stay in a place that meets these criteria and go find me the best price. Everyone is chasing that concept and they're all working towards that concept. And we're already at the point where 60% of the searches on Google are mobile and 20% of those are voice. And so here again, this is increasingly important if we want to be part, if we want to have our businesses be part of that ecosystem and be a potential answer for those types of voice searches. We need to make sure that we have is role. So let me just very quickly walk through what a search might look like. So this is a voice search here where I've said things to do in Chicago. And the voice assistant has returned this carousel here of different top sites, and this will be very close to the Chicago top sites if we were to do that. And then it's allowed us to ask these other different things. So we can continue to interact with the voice assistant, and we can get information about a destination in particular. We can get photos about that destination, which are pulled from a number of different sources. Some of them are the individual business listings. I can get a carousel of specific types of businesses. So here I've asked for museums, and it's giving me a carousel of different museums that are available in that market. And then I can click in and find information about that, which this again is coming direct out of the knowledge panel for the Field Museum in Chicago. And then I can even go so far as to do a walking tour inside the Field Museum without ever having left the voice assistant on my phone. So this is will be and will be an increasingly important component of how people experience your destination and your business specifically when they are searching, whether they are in market or have not yet made that decision. And this is one of the things that the BTA will help to facilitate over the coming years, months and years, are 360 shots and helping businesses understand what their opportunities are inside this ecosystem. And then sort of wrapping up here, the maps, obviously a very important component just on its own is Google Maps, and that's an important component of how people search for things both in market and before they visit a market. And again, all of this information is really contained inside this product and used in all of the other places. And then on top of that, I like to point out that those are just the places where your business information can appear inside Google's own products. There are also thousands of customers for their Map API that will potentially surface your business information in all kinds of other apps. Whether that's a trip planning app for an insurance company, or AAA, or some sort of navigation tool. There are all kinds of different tools that are using this same data. So all the stuff that we just looked through, very important to your business. Lots of people looking at that on Google, but that doesn't even count all of the other places that are using that same data through the API program that Google has. So that's where it appears. Those are all the different places that your business information can appear. Where does it come from? And there are really two different sources of where that information comes from. And the primary one that is important to you is called Google My Business. And so for those of you that don't use it, I'm going to go through and talk about sort of what Google My Business is. For those of you that already do, that's fantastic. I do have some tips that hopefully will be useful to you as we get into the nuts and bolts of Google My Business. So Google My Business is the dashboard that Google gives you to control your knowledge panel. And you can go and search for Google My Business, and then it will ask you to log in, and you will have to have a Google login of some kind. It doesn't have to be a Gmail address, but it certainly can be. It can also be any other kind of email address that you have set up. Here again is something that we can help to explain and help you with when we are at the workshop in person next week. So we talked a little bit earlier about verification and the ability for a business to be verified. So in order to directly control the information in your knowledge panel, you have to be verified. And you can tell whether or not your business is verified. A is if you have a login for Google My Business and you've been there before, then you probably are verified. If you haven't, you can always search your business in the Google search and then look at your knowledge panel. And if you see a little block that says verify this business or own this business with a question mark, that means your business is not verified. Verified businesses, A, have the ability for the owners and the managers of that business to better control the information that appears about them, but verified businesses also tend to rank higher in all of these different products. It's definitely an important thing for you to think about as business owners and operators, is making sure that you have control of that knowledge panel and that it's being managed actively. Okay, so once you've created an account, you go into Google My Business and you will have, I'm skipping the verification part here. The verification happens in a couple of different ways. You can request a postcard or you can request a phone call. At the workshop next Wednesday, you will actually be able to do that instantly, and Kim has a little bit more information about that for you later, so definitely pay attention to that if your business is unverified. So assuming you have your business and it's verified and you log in, you go to Google My Business and you can go to Manage Location, and you can have multiple locations. You can actually have hundreds of locations in your account. Just depends on what type of business you are. And then I wanted to highlight very quickly some of the best practices here and some of the components of the GMB that you can use to help maximize your exposure. So we'll start with photos. And photos, as you can see at the top of the page there, has a whole bunch of different options for how the photos are categorized. And that's different for each type of business. There's ones that are posted by the owner, which will be preferenced obviously higher than ones that are posted by customers. There are 360s, there are interiors and exteriors. There you can post pictures of a team, you can put in your logo so that Google knows what to use when it is using a logo for your business, and you can choose to a certain extent move some things around in there. You can also, when you go to the photos section here of your Google My Business listing, is you can go in and look at the customer photos, and that's an important thing for you to do, is to pay attention to what pictures your customers are posting of your business. In most cases, there are people who are trying to help out your business because they feel passionately about your business, but sometimes there are kind of goofy things that show up, and it would definitely be important for you to know about them so that you can try to get them off of there, and you know how you're being represented on Google. You'll also notice at the top of the page that as part of your GMB listing, you can set your cover photo, so you can choose which photo is the cover for your business. And you can also change your profile photo and put in a logo, or if you're an individual operator, you can actually put your own picture in there, however you want to do that. Listings with quality photos, and this is one of Google's stats that came from the teams that we work with there. Listings of quality photos get twice as many interactions as those that don't have quality photos. And there is a section where we will talk about this at the workshop in a little bit more depth. But the higher the resolution of the image, the better, and sort of the higher the saturation are a couple of the things that the Google algorithm is looking for when they're looking for a quality image. So definitely does pay to put good photos in there, because that's what attracts people to interact with your business as they scroll through all of the different options. Insights is another component of the GMB, and Insights has quite a bit of information that you can use to understand how people see your business inside these Google products. So this top one here is showing you the total number of places that your business was surfaced inside of 90 days and how that was being surfaced. So how did they find your business? And then there's a couple of other breakdowns in here about where they found your business. So we'll go on to the next one here is Insights. And so this is where your listing, where your business listing was surfaced. And that can either be in the search engine result page or it can be in maps. And there's quite a lot of volume there. This particular business here is an attraction. And in the last 90 days, they had 76,000 views inside those ecosystems. I also have seen individual businesses with upwards of 2 million exposures inside of 90 days. So there's definitely a lot of opportunity there, and it's important for you to see kind of how you're trending and where you appear. And much of this will have to do with whether or not you're in that 3-pack or for which keywords you are and where else you appear in some of the products that we talked about earlier. Down below that, you can see customer actions. And this is also really important to your business because you can look at the number of times someone visited your website, the number of times someone requested directions to your business, which is a really important cue that they have intent to visit your business, and then the number of times someone called using their mobile phone by clicking on your phone number as part of your listing. So that's really important information. And when you combine that with your own Google Analytics or whatever you use to track the analytics on your website, you're getting a much fuller picture of how many people are seeing your business. If you really just look at your Google Analytics and you say how many people came to my website, you're kind of underreporting the total number of exposures that you have and the number of places that people interact with your business. And that's, as a general rule anyway, certainly, exceptions to this, but as a general rule from what I have seen doing this program up to this point, the number of exposures that your business is going to get inside these products greatly outweighs the number of exposures that you're going to get direct to your website. So again, if you're, we know the website is an important marketing tool. This is equally an important marketing tool that you can use to try to drive business and engagement for your business. This one is called Posts. We have a section again in the workshop where we've talked a little bit more about Posts. But Posts are a new feature that allows you to get some additional real estate inside your knowledge panel, and it's really easy to do. So as part of your Google My Business listing, you can post a bunch of different types of information. So right on the right-hand side of the screen, you can see what that form looks like, and it is a little bit formatted. So you can add a photo, and you can write up to 300 words about whatever you're posting. You can set a date if it's an event, and it will actually have that post will show up and disappear from your knowledge panel during those dates. So you can kind of queue them up if you want to add a whole bunch of them and then have them appear at different times throughout the year. And then you can have a call to action button there that offers a few choices. You can learn more, and you can reserve, sign up, buy, or get offered. Those are currently the only choices for the call to action button inside the post. But you can actually direct that to wherever you want on your own website or anywhere else as part of the post. So Posts is a very exciting component of the Google My Business, and there's been a lot of aggressive growth in this product in the last 6 months, and we expect that to continue into 2018. Will be a lot of new features that will be coming into the GMB to expand the ability for businesses to participate in this. So here you can see on the search engine result page that Posts can really increase your real estate. So in some cases, depending on how much information you have about your business, you might be adding, a third or a half again as much real estate to your page. Plus, you get the opportunity to highlight something that's really relevant to your particular business and to someone who is searching at that moment. I will point out here that Posts are not enabled for hotels yet. That is still to come in the future months, but most other business types do have the ability to do Posts right now. Reviews, so this is another important part of this. When you go into Google My Business, you definitely want to look at what your reviews are, and this is your opportunity to reply to those. The review quantity and the quality are incredibly important ranking signals, just like they are for TripAdvisor. If you are involved in TripAdvisor's ecosystem or Yelp or OpenTable or however you want to look at it, the ranking signal of a high rating and a high number of ratings and the frequency of ratings are all really important ranking signals for your business in all of these different products. So definitely want to encourage, if you have customers that come in and have a good time, you definitely want to encourage them to make a post, to make a review, and to rate your business on Google, because it will definitely help your business. All right, so that's really the very quick summary of the Google My Business aspect, and so that's the component that you can control. And then the other source of information for the Knowledge Panel is Google's Local Guide program. And the Local Guide program is a crowdsourced program that is designed to allow individuals to add content and to update content in Google Maps, and then therefore in all of these other places as well. So I'll talk a little bit about kind of how the structure of local guides work. But local guides can suggest edits to your business, and they can actually post photos and 360s and so forth of your business. So you may have seen this in your listing where you have photos, you say, I don't know where that came from. In a lot of cases, that's going to be the Local Guides program that is driving that. You can look and see who they are. So here's an example where I've gone into a museum and I'm looking at a photo and I say, gee, I wonder who took that photo. And up in the upper left there, I can see the name of the person that took it and the date of the photo, not the date they posted it, and that can get confusing. That's actually the date that was embedded in the data of the photo when it was uploaded. So it may very well be that they uploaded it yesterday, but the photo was from 2014. as an example. So if I click on that guy's name, I can click through and I can see all of the different things that this particular local guide has taken. So this person has posted 205 photos. And this is a pretty important component of this. You can see there that this person, of those 205 photos, they have 15,000 views. Sorry, million. 15 million views of the content that they uploaded into this system. So they can be a very strong advocate for you, exposing your business and adding quality content to your business. So if you find photos that are taken by local guides and you recognize some of those people who are coming in, certainly makes sense to recognize them and tell them thanks for helping you out. I will point out that part of the program that we are putting together here with the Tourism Authority will be the BTA itself acting as a local guide and posting some of the content that they have and trying to fill in some of the gaps on the island of places that don't have the quality or the quantity of photography or 360 information. So you may very well see photos or information posted from the Bermuda Tourism Authority as a local guide as well. Just to give you a little bit of an overview of what that program looks like, the way that it's built is you get the local guides get points for adding content, and then as they build up points, they get to different levels, and that's really on the right-hand side there is kind of the level, and there's the points stack up pretty quickly. So someone who's really a level 5 guide or above has submitted a tremendous amount of content to Google about different local businesses. And what happens is the higher level they have, the more authoritative their information is. And so the higher it will be ranked inside the different places where it appears. And largely that's visual, so it's photos, and they add a photo, and then they have a better shot at being higher up in the stack of photos when somebody goes to look at them. And again, the tip there, definitely pay attention to the local guides, and certainly if there are people that you recognize, that you can say, hey, thanks for doing that. It's a good way to help build that relationship with those local guides. Okay, so going back to our agenda, we did the overview of what the program is and why we're here today. We talked about the Knowledge Panel. We talked about the Google My Business dashboard and how you can use that to control the information about your product or about your business rather. And we talked about some of the tips and tricks that are available inside that. And now I'm going to turn it back over to Kim to talk a little bit more about the exciting workshop that we'll be doing in person next week.
Thanks, CA. Well, we are really hoping to see all of you and get to meet you in person next Wednesday, November 15th at the Bermuda Tourism Summit. One of our key points of contact at Google, Program Manager Sven Tresp, will be delivering a keynote at the summit on creating amazing content across the consumer journey. And immediately following his presentation, Miles Partnership will be delivering a Google My Business industry workshop, which takes everything we just went through here today to the next level, to a much more tactical how-to guide in getting into your Google My Business account and how to do the various, influence the various elements that we've talked to today. We're going to have some great leave behind materials for everyone at that event. You'll have your own set of how-to guides, so you can go back to the office and use that to begin to manage your Google presence. You'll also see both BTA and the Miles team around town following the summit. We are both having a networking event with existing Google local guides. If you are already active as a local guide in Bermuda, you should be seeing that invite soon to join us Thursday evening for a networking event with Google local guides. And the Miles team and BTA will also be around the market on Thursday taking 360 images. We're going to have a street view camera hooked up to one of the current cars going around town, and really just beginning what is to be a long-term endeavor by the Bermuda Tourism Authority to really be a steward of what Bermuda looks like in Google's products. One of the great opportunities we'll be able to provide on Wednesday is instant verification of your business in the Google My Business program. The existing verification process is a little bit cumbersome. You need to either receive a postcard or take a phone call at the exact right time and place in order to get the code to verify your business. And we'll have the opportunity to bypass that whole process at the event. So you can come to the summit. You need to bring one of the following documents: a utility bill, a tax letter, or a business registration certificate that has your business name, address, and possibly category on it. If you have that documentation to prove that you are the rightful contact for that business, then we will have an app available that we can use at the summit to instantly verify your business. There will be a follow-up email going out to everyone who attended today's session and to those who didn't, as a reminder of what to bring for instant verification. There will be a recording of this webinar made available to everyone, both who was here and who wasn't able to attend this overview. And I want to open it up to questions. If you're in GoToWebinar, if you look on your panel there, there's a box for questions where you can type in some questions directly. Our first one has been about the recording, which I think we have answered here. So I'll dive into a couple others. First one here is, if there's a photo of related to my business in Google that isn't a picture of my business or is something that is wrong, what steps do I take to get that photo out of there?
That's a pretty common one, I imagine. So there's lots of different photos that show up in there, and there are a couple of different mechanisms for doing that. We can show you more specifically next week at the workshop in person, but when you find the photo, there'll be either a little flag on there or the 3-dot menu, which Google calls the overflow menu, and in there is a selection called report an issue. You have to be logged in and you say report an issue, and then you have to choose from a variety of pre-formatted reasons why the photo doesn't apply. And the choices are really pretty limited. So most of the time you're going to choose the photo, the content does not relate to this location, or there might be some other kind of a violation that is in one of those photos. And so you'll flag that photo, and that gets submitted to the Google teams that are in charge of those photos, and they get reviewed, and it does take a while. Sometimes when you submit something, it'll be gone the next day, and other times it will seem like it continues to hang around there. They tell you officially that you need to wait for 2 weeks after flagging an image. You can go in and flag it as many times as you want inside of those 2 weeks to see if you can get attention applied to that. If that doesn't work, and to be quite honest with you, it works some of the time, again, faster in some cases than others, then this is another reason to have a verified business, because if you are the verified owner of that business, you can actually go in and request support, and you can contact the Google My Business support team and say, hey, this photo doesn't belong here, it doesn't match this business. And in a lot of ways, that will be your kind of your go-to line of defense there. So you start by flagging the image, and then once you are a verified business, you can go in and request support from the team through the GMB interface.
Great. Let's see. I'm trying to get this to pop out here so I can read it.
I think I've got one. This one says, with regards to verifying businesses, this question is about a service and an online store. There are a couple of choices when you go to register a business where you can identify what type of business you are and identify that you deliver service to them, to your customers, not at your storefront. So you're identifying a very important issue there, which is that the physical address of the business is different than where the service is delivered. And there's a couple of different places you can do that in there and try to categorize yourself correctly inside the ecosystem to help with that. But the GMB approach is very much built on the paradigm of a bricks and mortar type of business. So there are some ways to do that, and we can help you take a look at that if you're going to be at the in-person event next week, and we can talk through what some of the what the ways that you're going to go about doing that. In most cases, though, if your business is sort of a broader service that isn't a bricks and mortar where you have people walking into your business, then your focus is going to be more on organic search results than it will be on the local business results, which is much more built around that paradigm of bricks and mortar. The other question I see is, are TripAdvisor reviews included in the point system? They're not. There was a time in the past where TripAdvisor and a couple of other sources of review information were incorporated into this ecosystem. And over the last couple of years, Google has phased all of that out. And so really the only valid review rating that you're going to see in terms of ranking signals anyway will be Google's own reviews. Let me see what else we have here. Wonderful to see lots of questions. I appreciate that. With the GMB permissions, is it possible to connect multiple business emails to the platform, or is it the owner only? That is a fantastic question. You can have as many people manage the business as you want. So there will be one person, one account who will be assigned as the owner. And you can actually transfer ownership to a different account. You can sort of change all of those things around, and then you can add owners or you can add managers. There's a couple different roles that you can put in there, and you can actually have many, many people, many different accounts that are accessing that same information inside the GMB.
There's even an opportunity where you can give Bermuda Tourism Authority the permission to be a manager on your business account, which would allow them to upload photos or add hours or anything like that into the business listing, and also make it easy for everyone in the industry to share information about just how much exposure local businesses are getting through this Google ecosystem.
Okay, here's another one. If my business is verified for a specific address and then it moves, do I have to wait for the postcard or the phone call, or is the app something that can be used? The Bermuda Tourism Authority will have the app on an ongoing basis to help businesses get verified. Again, as Kim pointed out, there's some requirements that have to be met in order to use the instant verifier to begin with. In terms of whether or not it can verify a business with a new address, I don't know. Let's give it a shot. Again, the paradigm there is built around a business that is not verified, and moving is a little bit different. But yeah, bring it in. Let's give it a shot, and we'll see what happens there. And then lastly, I think this one says, why does Google My Business not sync with Google Maps? I have my primary location listed, but Maps always shows a secondary location as the primary. I definitely feel where you're coming from. There are lots of little idiosyncrasies in between the different platforms, and sometimes it can take a few days for things to sync up. I have seen similar issues with our own business with Miles Partnership and how it gets surfaced in those. And without really seeing them, I can't tell you exactly what the next steps would be for you. So there again, if you're going to be around next week and you can stop in and come and see us, and we will see if we can find out anything about that. Lots of times there will be multiple businesses that are that have the same name, and sometimes there can be duplicates, and so things show up differently in maps than the way they show up in other products for those reasons. So.
We had one a little bit further up about any examples, best practice examples of businesses who have successfully converted their in-person traffic to Google rankings. And I've seen a couple different ways that folks have found to really encourage happy customers to do a review on Google. Sometimes that's something you can add into your receipts. It's also signs you can put up within the business. We have hotel customers who have had something that they include in with their folios, where if you had a great experience at the property, please go to Google and write a review for us. Very much in the way that folks have encouraged TripAdvisor reviews in the past. There's a need for both in today's market, given the amount of share that Google has in addition to TripAdvisor. So those sorts of outreach, particularly when you know you have a happy customer on your hands, making sure that your staff is trained to just drop that into the conversation. Like if you had a great time, please review us on Google, because the quantity and the high ranking of reviews is probably one of the most influential things on how well ranked you are in Google results.
Excellent. Here's a couple more. Is it possible to link multiple businesses so that they can link to each other when people search? For example, a hotel with multiple restaurants that also want local business as well as tourists. The short answer to that is no, but. And the but is that you will see at the bottom of a bunch of different knowledge channels, and again, this will depend a little bit on the type of search and the type of business. But on a lot of the knowledge panels, you will see people also searched for at the bottom, and there will be this little tiny carousel of other businesses that are related to that business. You don't get to choose, at least right now, you don't get to choose what shows up in there for your particular business. But one of the best things you can do there is make sure that you're following all of the things that we've talked about here for those individual businesses. So let's say I have 3 restaurants. Let's say I'm a hotel and I have 3 restaurants on property. I have to pay attention to all 4 of those listings and make sure they're all sort of equally managed, right? We want to have the same number of reviews. We want to have quality photos for all of those. We want to have traffic in all of those. And that's one of the best ways for you to influence what appears in the bottom strip of people also searched for. There is also, and this will be in the packet that we hand out, there's also some schema data options that you can use on the website for those individual, the restaurant and for the hotel, that can help Google identify that those things are related and that this restaurant is on the property of this hotel or the spa or those types of things. You can flag that using schema data. There's, again, no guarantee there that you're going to do the schema data and then it will show up where you want it to, but you certainly increase your chances of having it show up by doing that. I also think that we will see, this is one of the areas that we will probably see additional things coming into these products over time, is the ability to relate those different types of businesses.
A couple more here before we wrap up. One of them is the BTA going to be adding reviews which are given to them about various local businesses? One of the opportunities local guides have is to review businesses, but that is one area that BTA is not directly going to participate in because of the need to, not be recommending one business above the other within your industry. They can do is, if they do receive reviews or have someone that contacts them and is really happy with a particular location, point them to the Google business listing of that business for that individual to write a review. But in the interest of supporting all of the industry equally as a whole, BTA won't be writing individual reviews for individual businesses.
A couple more. So tobacco bed destination has multiple listings. Can we remove one in place of the other to allow customer focus? Yes, there are a couple of different ways to do that, but you do want to be careful about how you do that. So some of the questions will be whether or not they're both verified, and are they verified to you, or if they're verified to someone else. So there again, if you're going to be around next week, stop by and we'll certainly try to help you with that. But you can flag a business, one of them as being closed or as being a duplicate, and try to consolidate that information. That's certainly one of the best things you can do, is try to clean up any abnormalities in maps like that. Another one, is it possible to add scripting from Google to a website if someone adds a comment that would be added automatically to the website? There actually is a component for that. I don't remember the URL off the top of my head, and I will have written that down as a note to add to our documentation over time. But there is a way to do that. There is, in fact, I think, a WordPress module to do that, where you can pull in comments from your business listing, and it uses Google+. So you have to go through Google+ and then embed the review from Google+ onto your website. So that would probably be where I would start if you want to take a look at that. That would be searching for embed a review of my business on my website, and hopefully that will lead you to that article that I was thinking of that references WordPress.
All right, I think we have covered all the questions we have received at this point. I want to thank everybody for joining us today, and we look forward to meeting you in person next week. Please, if you have any follow-up questions for either Miles Partnership or BTA, both Victoria and Jamari are available for questions on the BTA side. And there, I believe, was a contact information to reach our Miles team through this webinar today. So we certainly look forward to meeting all of you, and have a great afternoon, and thank you.